Hi there, it's Ryan G. Wright with DoHardMoney.com, and the question of the day today is, how can I get 100% financing on recreational land? So first off, let's just make sure we're all on the same page here. Land, when we're talking about land, has no structure on it. Land can be just completely vacant or it can be improved land. The difference is completely vacant land does not have stubs for utilities like water or sewer or power. So that's just completely vacant land without any of those things. Improved land is going to have that stub for water, sewer, and power. So it's important to know if you have which one of those. Also, with improved land, you'll typically have what's called curb and gutter, which basically means you have your curbing, you have your gutter that comes through. Typically, you'll have sidewalks as well. So that's going to be improved land versus improved land versus just completely vacant land. Now, with recreational properties, you might not have curb and gutter, but you should have utility stub if it's improved. Or if it's completely vacant, you have nothing, like nothing at all. And then here's what I'll tell you. It's very, very difficult to get financing when we're dealing with land. The reason is, number one, most of the times the cost of the land is pretty small. So I've seen land deals go for $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000. And as a lender, it's really expensive to make a loan happen. No matter if I do a loan for $500,000 or do a loan for $5,000, I have to put the same amount of effort and work into that. I still have to work with the title companies. We still have to work with the attorneys. We have all these expenses that have to go into this deal, where in most cases with some of these small land deals, say under $50,000, it just doesn't make sense for us to be financing those type deals because the fees we would have to charge are so much more expensive, and as a percentage, it's extremely high as a percentage of the cost of what you're actually borrowing. But the good news is there are some way to make these smaller land deals happen. One of the great ways to do this is to actually use your 401k. If you have a 401k with work, you can roll that into a self-directed 401k or set up your own self-directed retirement account. And then with that self-directed, you can actually use that to make these land purchases, which is fantastic. We actually have a whole thing with Equity Trust on how to do self-directed. If you haven't watched that video, I highly recommend it. That's one way. Another way that you can do that is called credit card finance. You can actually get credit cards that will allow you to do cash advances and to buy that property. If it's a new cash advance that you're doing, you typically can get a really low rate, sometimes 0% for the first year, which would allow you the money to use that to buy that recreational land and then sell that property. Now, anytime you use leverage, you are taking on a higher amount of risk, but you can get a higher amount of reward as well. So there's something you can use when we're dealing with leverage that will get someone to get you 100% financing on recreational property because you're actually leveraging that credit card finance to take cash out at a 0% interest and then use that money to purchase that land, but you are going to have to pay that money back, which should be by the resale of that 100% financed recreational property because you use that. Now, the other thing is you can just use your own credit card if they'll give you a cash advance, but you're going to want to negotiate and get the lowest rate possible. Typically, it's best to get new credit card financing. If you haven't watched, we have a whole video on how to get a 0% money. We've got that on YouTube, so you can check that one out as well. Another thing you can look at to get 100% financing on recreational land is to partner with somebody. Lots of times you'll have a neighbor, a friend, a family member. I call it love money. Anybody that loves you that would put up some money. Typically, you can find somebody like that and you can partner with them. They may have money in a 401k. They have money sitting in a bank account making 0. They may have some of those types of things. So find the money, who has money, and then you can say, I'll put in the effort, I'll put in the time, I'll find the property, I'll get the training, I'll get the education. I just need you to put up the money, finance the entire project, and then we'll do a split. There's two ways the split can happen, right? They can be equity or they can be debt. If they're debt, you're saying, I owe you the money and I will pay you the money, which means if you lose money, you still owe them the difference. That's what debt is going to look like. Typically with that, there's an interest rate attached to it. If you set it up properly, you'll say, I'm not going to make any payments until I sell the property. However, you could say, I will make a monthly payment to you, but I don't recommend that. I recommend that they take something once the property sells. You can also with debt say, hey, I'll just give you a percentage of what we make. Or you can do a combination where you give them an interest rate that you pay once you sell the property and a small percentage of the profit you make. The other way you can do this with somebody like that is to do equity, which basically means you put up all the money, I'll own 50% of it, you'll own 50% of it, you get all of your money back first, and then we split 50-50 anything above that. Or you may say, you can get the first so many $1,000 and then we'll split 50-50 anything above that. The difference between debt and equity is equity, they actually own it. If there's a loss to be had, they could be taking that loss and you're not liable for that money. Whereas if we deal with debt, you're signing saying, yes, I will pay you back this money, and you have an obligation to pay back that money. So you want to use that you want to be careful how you use that, but those are things that you can keep in mind. So we've talked about credit card financing. Another one we've talked about is business lines of credit. You can go get a business line of credit. So business lines of credit, credit card financing, 401k, any of your self-directed, friends, family, any money that you have in a savings account that's not doing anything. There's a variety of different ways that you can get that money to do a recreational land property, but finding a lender is typically not the best way. You're going to have to be more creative in using credit card finance, friends and family, or using your retirement account if you want to get all the money on those type of recreational properties. I've also got another video all about recreational land, and if it's a good investment or not, recommend that you check that one out as well. Otherwise, appreciate you watching this video. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. We love positive reviews, so we'd love to see you leave one and make it a very profitable day. And check us out over at dohardmoney.com.